These are kurde. They're Buddhist prayer wheels. And on the outside of each of these, there's a Buddhist mantra written in Sanskrit. And on the inside, there are millions of prayers all written on strips of paper. What you do is you turn these wheels clockwise, which is also the direction that the sun travels. And in doing so, you're saying all the prayers simultaneously. And also, if you make a wish while you're turning these wheels, your wish will supposedly come true. You turn the prayer wheel before entering and after leaving this Buddhist temple, which is called Seksun Sume. And this temple is located in the only Buddhist republic on European territory, Kalmykia. On the front of the temple, there's a Dharma wheel and 2 deer. The Dharma wheel symbolizes the Buddhist teachings, while the deer symbolize the Buddha's first students. Before entering a Buddhist temple, you should be respectful and take off your shoes. The portrait is of a familiar face. It's the Dalai-Lama. And the reason why his portrait there is because the Kalmyks follow the Tibetan branch of Buddhism. In fact, it was the Dalai-Lama who decided to build the temple here in this spot. The Dalai-Lama visited Kalmykia for the first time in 1994, just as the revival of Buddhism here began. The Kalmyk converted to Buddhism some 4 centuries ago, but the Soviet period was particularly difficult as all religion was repressed. All of the Republic's old temples were destroyed and they weren't allowed to build any new ones. Until 1991, there wasn't a single Buddhist temple left in Kalmykia. But today, there are about 30. I see a monk over here. I'm going to see if I can ask him a few questions. Здравствуйте, извините, пожалуйста. Меня зовут Марк, кстати. Меня зовут Сергей. Not only are the number of temples growing, but so are the numbers of monks like Sergei. He made his decision to become a monk all the way back in the 2nd grade. 2 years ago, he left home to live here. Today, he's still at the very earliest stages in his monastic training. In this temple, not only do they pray, but on the 2nd floor, they also study and live here as well. This is a classroom right here, the chalkboard. You need to start your training early. It takes 9 years of studying several hours a day just to become a regular monk. That's 4 years in Kalmykia and 5 years in a Buddhist university in India, since there isn't yet such a university in Kalmykia. The first thing that they teach prospective monks is the Tibetan language, since most of the holy texts are written in it. The artwork here in the temple is amazing. The drawings are so rich. For example, this one right here, it represents the 6 phases in reincarnation. It starts with gods, then semi-gods, then animals, and this is hell, and then there are famished spirits, and then back to people. And in the very middle here, there are 3 animals representing the 3 worst emotions which ruin your karma. There's the pig, which represents ignorance, then there's the cock, which represents passion in the bad sense, and then there's a snake, which represents rage. Seksun Sume is located on the edge of Elista, the capital of Kalmykia. The landscape here doesn't quite look like most of the rest of Russia. Here it's endless steppe and stunted trees. Since the Kalmyks were nomadic people, they didn't really build up too much in the way of cities. Elista, their capital, is rather small and young by Russian standards. Capital only has about 130, 140,000 people here. And where I am right here, this is the old part of the city. This is where it first started. So you can see most of the houses here are single-story dwellings. But if you go into the newer parts of the city, you'll see kind of typical Soviet bloc buildings. Elista's architecture is more interesting than most provincial towns thanks to the Buddhist and Kalmyk influences. You'll find all sorts of interesting sculptures and statues, as well as bright pagodas. These are the sacred gates of Elista, and it's said that if you walk under them, you can wash away all of your sins. But there's a hitch. You have to have a completely clear mind and a clear conscience when you walk under them. This statue of a camel may seem out of place here in Russia, but in fact, it's a reminder of the Kalmyks' nomadic past. Now, the Kalmyks just came out to this part of Russia about 400 years ago, and until the Bolshevik Revolution in 1917, they maintained their old nomadic traditions. This is Altyn Sume, which means Golden Temple in Kalmykian, and it's the largest Buddhist temple in all of Europe. Now, it was just opened 6 months ago, but it's still not completed. Nevertheless, it's open for services and open to the public. The temple is 62 meters high, sitting on about 6 hectares of land. The massive structure was built up in less than a year. Just in front of the temple, there's a representation of Tsagan Av, the patron of the Kalmyks, and inside is an 11-meter tall statue of the Buddha. Even though the temple isn't completed yet, it still attracts a large crowd during services. Right now in Altyn Sume, they're conducting a religious ritual. Tibetan monks are building a mandala for the Buddha Yamantaki. A mandala is a symbolic palace meticulously made out of colored sands. The palace is built for a god so that he will bless the place. Buddhists here believe that this mandala will improve Kalmykia's karma. The sands that they use to make the mandala aren't ordinary sands. It comes from crushed marble, and the colorings they use are from natural dyes. Now, they have 5 basic colors in Buddhism. There's blue, green, yellow, red, and white, and then all kinds of shades in between. Right now I'm with one of the monks who works in the mandala here. My name is Mark, by the way.
Okay, my name is Damjo.
Thank you for talking to me. Thanks for meeting me. How many days does it take to do this?
10 days.
10 days to make this design.
Yeah.
And then what happens? You destroy it,
Yeah,
right?
destroy it.
Kalmyk history is full of tragedy. The elders here still recall how on December 28, 1943, Stalin deported the entire Kalmyk nation to Siberia after having accused them of collaborating with the Nazis. Now this day is a day of mourning. It was minus 35 degrees out the night of the deportation, and each Kalmyk family was given only 15 minutes to prepare for the cattle wagons. In the end, about half the Kalmyk population died either on the way to Siberia or in exile. And this memorial captures that night really well. It's almost like Picasso's Guernica with all of the terror and the violence and chaos. Here you can see a strip of railway line symbolizing the cattle wagons that they were shipped out on. And then there are all the years that they were in forced exile. It was only in 1957 that Khrushchev gave the Kalmyks the right to return to their homeland. In spite of the deportations and the years of repression, the Kalmyks managed to maintain and preserve their culture. Since the Kalmyks were a nomadic people, they relied on oral storytelling, and they didn't have their own written language until the 17th century. Their most famous oral epic is called the Jangar, and it's since been published in printed form, and also it's been staged for the theater. The reason why I'm having this beard put on me right now is because I'm in the dressing room getting ready to perform with a theater troupe called Tupan. And we're going to perform a rehearsal of an epic called Jangar. And I'm going to play the title role, the hero, Jangar. All right, let's get Jangaring. I'm ready to terrorize. Tupan is Kalmykia's top theater troupe, and they've performed all over the world. The word Tupan means tulip, a flower that grows wild across the Kalmyk steppe. The Jangar is like a lot of epics. Really, it's a collection of small stories and songs, and it's about Jangar who rules over a magical kingdom, and they constantly have to fight off enemies, particularly a breed of demons. There are two great advantages to playing Jangar. The first one is you're the hero, you're the man, you're sitting on the throne and everybody's around you. The second one is a little more important to me is you don't have to dance. Even so, I'm kind of working up a sweat here though. Now there's one other big advantage to being Jangar. He never loses. When it comes to chess, no country in the world compares to Russia or the Soviet Union. Three names that come off the top of my head as champions of chess are Karpov, Kasparov, and Spassky. And here I found a place where they train up the future champions of Russia. Kalmykia hasn't yet produced a world champion, but there's a serious chess craze in this republic. For example, in this chess school, they have about 600 students ranging in age from 5 years on up. Future champion of Russia. This poor kid has no idea the pain that awaits him. Whoa. Oh. Retreat! Retreat! Some of the kids who train up here eventually go on to join Russia's national champion team. But even a 10-year-old like Aslan can humiliate me so badly that everyone around is just laughing at me. This is really horrible. All I can do at this point is surrender the way that they used to do, which is just dropping the king and saying, "You win, congratulations." Thank you. The current chess craze first hit Kalmykia at the end of the 90s. In 1998, the FIDE World Chess Olympics were held here in Kalmykia. So they decided to build a kind of Olympic village on the edge of town, and they called it Chess City. And here you have both a complex for chess sports, as well as all kinds of townhouses, gardens, everything. It's sort of like a gated community, only instead of with golf in the middle, it has chess. Russians view Chess City with a certain degree of irony, a place they consider a kind of Potemkin village. The locals look at it in much the same way. I'm sitting in one of 12 chairs here, and 12 Chairs is the title of a famous 20th century Russian comic novel. And by the way, Mel Brooks in the 1960s also made a film based on 12 Chairs. This is Osip Bandar. He's the main character, and he's a famous shyster from the Ilfin Petrov novel. The reason why this is relevant, the reason why he has a chess piece in his hand, is that one of the big shyster moves that he did was he tried to convince this small town in the middle of nowhere that he could turn them into the world capital of chess. And in reality, he's located just down the street from the real chess city here in Elista. So the statue works on many ironic levels. After the Chess Olympics, Chess City was turned into a sort of half hotel complex for tourists and half gated community. Here, people can buy their townhouses, fix them up, and they live by a kind of internal rules here. But you can also just be a tourist, come here, and rent a place for a night. So I was given apparently a fancy schmancy room. It costs 5,000 rubles, which is about 170, 180 bucks. I'll see what that gets you here. I guess I can see why they charge 5,000 rubles. This place is huge. Much more space than I need, but, well, what the heck, I'm not complaining. The only sort of flaw here is this stairwell. It's like a snap-on stairwell kit, a little bit rickety. But once you get to the top here, you've got 3 bedrooms and a full bathroom. Kalmykia isn't a large region by Russian standards, just 75,000 square kilometers. The entire region is steppe, which in some places turns into desert. The economy is mostly livestock-based, mainly lamb. And it's from lamb that one of their most interesting local dishes come from, which they call kyur. Out here on the steppe is where they make the kyur. Now, not too many people keep this tradition going here in Kalmykia, but I'm going to meet someone, Alexei, who is keeping the tradition alive, the old style. Здравствуйте.
Здравствуйте.
Меня зовут Марк.
Алексей.
Очень приятно. Могу ли вам помочь? Вот.
Пожалуйста.
Отлично. Спасибо. So I'm going to see if I can help out here. Kyur is lamb cooked over hot coals in a hole dug in the ground. To make kyur, the first thing you have to do is dig the hole. All right, so this kyur oven is just about ready now. The oven should be about 1/2 meter wide and about 1 meter deep, and it should be pear-shaped as well. And the way it should work now is you should put some kind of coal or wood. Now, in the olden days, in the steppes, you couldn't find wood, so what they use is cow dung to heat this up. But now we're going to put some wood in here, heat it up, and what will happen is after about 10 or 12 hours of burning, that the oven will become hard like a real oven, and then it's ready for the kyur. The way that you make the kyur is the first thing, you take the sheep's stomach, which is this, and it's like a big sack. And then you fillet all of the meat, put it into the sheep's stomach, and then put in the spices, which is really salt, pepper, and some laurel or bay leaf. Then you sew it up, put it into the oven, cook it, and then you're ready for some kyur meat. It's incredible, but the entire sheep fits into this stomach. Really gives a new meaning to the expression, eat me. And right now he's gonna put in this hollow rib bone here. And what you do is you put it around the opening of the sack, sew it up, and it acts as kind of like a thermometer or a steam pipe. It lets the heat out at just the right regulation. So now the kyur is ready, and Alexei is gonna put it into the oven in the pit in the ground on top of the burning hot wood coals. Put more hot wood coals on top of it, bury it, and then you let it cook for about 15, 16 hours, although it can stay there for about a day too, even sort of cooling off. Since it takes so long to cook, I had time to head out to the Kalmyk hinterlands. Today, the Kalmyks have lost a lot of their traditional ways. They're no longer nomads, and they no longer live in their old traditional tents called ishkager, which looks sort of like the Mongol yurts. Now, in the olden days, these were made out of felt. They'd be smeared in sheep fat in order to keep them protected from water and rain and so on. Now, this one, though, is made out of nylon. That's because today, they're really only used for holidays or for tourists. And the ishkager is pretty simple on the inside. You have a carpet here where people would sit around, a bed. Now this is kind of a fancier bed than you'd expect with the curtains and so on. And this would be the religious mantle. Now this is a portrait of the Dalai-Lama, but you could also have a Buddha figurine, I'm sure, a candle, and then some offerings. And then around here there's all sorts of other stuff, but that's really because this is a mock-up of a tent. The northern corner of the yurt is a place of honor reserved for guests, while the western part is the man's area, the place for his bed and weapons. The eastern part is the woman's, and in the middle is a rug. Even this touristy yurt complies with these old traditions. So I've seen some of the Kalmyk traditional ways, and now it's time to see a real living symbol of Kalmyk culture. Kalmykia's symbol is the saiga, which is a small antelope-like animal which lives in these steppes. In recent times, the saiga population here has nearly been wiped out. 20 years ago, there were over 1 million saiga, and 3 years ago, only a few thousand remained. The main reason for their disappearance has been hunting and poaching. Today, the saiga is listed as an endangered species, and hunting it is illegal. Moreover, reservations have been set up to protect them. This pendant area here keeps in about 46 saigas in total. What they do here is they keep them here to study them, to help breed them, and also to show them off to the public and hopefully raise awareness. Now some of the Saigas are looking at me a little bit nervously because they want to come closer to where I am here. And this is where the water and food are kept in this corner, but they're afraid of me. And given their recent experience with mankind, it's no wonder why. After spending a whole day on the Kalmyk steppes, running around to all kinds of places, I worked up a big appetite. Now the kyur is ready. I'm really hungry. This should be great. This is like the first real lamb meal I've ever eaten.
Согласно нашей калмыцкой традиции, прежде всего мы должны угостить гостя калмыцким чаем.
Спасибо большое. So Alexei's told me that according to Kalmyk tradition, before you eat the kyur, you drink the Kalmyk tea, and it's a special tea. It's an interesting tea. It's sort of milky and it's very salty. It's not bad. Now we get to go eat the kyur. Oh, this looks good. Spasiba. You know, oh, it's great. When I grew up, my mother always used to cook lamb chops, all the time lamb chops. I mean, to be honest, I didn't like them that much. And I tell you, these are the best lamb chops I've ever eaten in my life. I'm really glad I came here. Kalmykia has a Buddhist soul, a mind for chest, and a stomach for great food. At least.